Today I'm going to show you how to do a double crochet. I use USA terms. In English terms that would be a treble, but for sake of continuity I'm going to call it my double because that's what I call it, and that's what I use in all my videos. So to start you have to do a slip knot. If you don't know how to do a slip knot, I have a video on how to chain and slip knot. If you click the little I up here, or I've linked to it in the description down here. So you start with your slip knot on your hook, and then we're going to do some chains. Do as many chains as you like. I'm going to do 15 for the sake of this video. So you do your chains and then I'll meet you back at the other end. So I've got my 15 chains now, and the double crochet stitch is the most complicated to learn, but the most versatile. If you can crack this one, every other stitch, walk in the park compared to the double crochet. It's used primarily for granny squares, so that's how you'll recognize it. But it is my favorite stitch to use, really. I do love it because it is so versatile. So because it is quite a tall stitch, you're going to skip the first 3 chains. This loop on your hook does not count as a chain, so ignore that and you count from what's underneath. So what's dangling down, those are your chains. So you're going to skip the first 3, so 1, 2, 3. Ignore those 3 and you're going to work into the 4th one. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where you're going to be putting your stitch, first stitch. So bear with the double crochet. If you are an absolute beginner and you've never done it before, it's quite a daunting stitch, but trust me, if you practice it enough, it will become second nature. So keep your eye on that 4th stitch. That's where we're going to be putting the hook. I might just hang on to that for a second so you can see where you're going. So to start the double crochet, you yarn over and put your finger on that loop, just gently on the hook so that it can't fall off. Because more often than not, when you're going back in, it can fall off and then you can come undone. So yarn over, put your finger on that hook gently, just to keep it in place. Then insert your hook into the 4th chain. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like so. And then you're going to yarn over again and bring this yarn back through that chain you just popped your hook through that loop there. So you're just going to come back through like so. And you'll have 3 loops on your hook. You can take your finger off now at this point because it's not going anywhere. So you've got 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 of those 3 loops. So 1, 2, these 2 here. So pull this yarn through these 2 loops. 1 and 2, and you'll have 2 loops left on your hook. And then to finish your double crochet, yarn over and pull through those final 2 loops. Sounds complicated. It's a lot to get your head around, so we'll do another one, and we're going into the next chain along, so into here. So yarn over, pop your finger on that loop so it can't come off, hook into your stitch, yarn over at the back and bring it back through your stitch. So you have 3 loops at the front of your work. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 of those 3 loops. And yarn over again and pull through the final 2. That's another double crochet. So you can see this, it's quite a long, tall, column-y type stitch. That's the one you did before, and these are your chains that you skipped. So again, into the next, yarn over, pop your finger on that loop on the hook, go into the stitch, yarn over and pull back through. So you have 3 loops on your hook. Give yourself lots of room. Don't try and be all up here, so you can keep sliding it back along. Yarn over, pull through the first 2 of those 3 loops, and then yarn over and pull through the final 2. Again, yarn over, pop your finger on that loop so it can't come off, go into the stitch, yarn over and come back to the front again with it. You've got 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2 of those 3 loops, and yarn over, pull through the final 2 loops. And keep going into every chain all the way along, and I'll meet you when you get down here and show you how to do the second row. Don't forget to pop your final stitch in this very last chain right by that slip stitch. Slipknot, sorry. So that's your first row of double crochet completed, including the 3 chains you missed at the end there. You can see how those 3 chains, these 3 chains here, 1, 2, 3, are the same height as a double crochet stitch. So these are your chains, this is the stitch. So when you want to turn and do your next row, you need to get your hook, it's currently at the same level here, you need to get your hook up so it's working at the right height. So you're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. So now you can see your hook is nice and high, it's at the right height for the next row. So turn your work, you're always crocheting in this direction. This time you're going to be working underneath the loops, top loops of your stitches. So some patterns will say this chain 3 counts as a stitch. If it counts as a stitch, then you ignore this one and you work into this one here. If it doesn't count as a stitch, then you work into this one here. But for this, we're gonna, because it's nice and tall and you can see that it's the right height, we're gonna count it as a stitch. So it's like a mock double crochet. So we're going to skip this one and we're going to work into the second one here. It's the same as before, yarn over, pop your finger on that loop so it can't come off your hook, and go underneath the stitch. So you can see we're going underneath. And then yarn over at the back, pull it all back through, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the final 2. And then keep going all the way back along. So you can see this chain 3 is the same height as your stitches. Now just a note on this turning chain, as it's called. I personally am not a massive fan because it leaves a kind of gap in your work. So for the sake of learning the double crochet stitch and just doing like a little practice swatch, don't worry about that. It doesn't matter now. There are lots of different alternatives you can do. And if you're doing a big blanket just out of this double crochet, when you put a border on, you won't notice so much. But if it does really bother you, you can just pop your first double crochet in there instead. So there are ways around this, and I will do a video on alternatives to the turning chain and how to avoid that gap. But for now, because you're learning and you're just practicing, the most important thing is that you get your double crochet motion down. So yarn over into your stitch, yarn over, come back through, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Once you've got this stitch, you can do anything in crochet. I hope that helped. If you have any questions, please feel free to pop a little comment down there or send me a message or get in contact with me however you want. You can find me on Facebook here. You can find me on Instagram. There's my Instagram name. And you can find me all over. I've linked to my blog, my website, all that jazz down in the bottom. So you can find me all over. Hopefully that's helped. Happy crocheting!